For many years now, I've used return tracks for audio routing for playback on stage. I'm going to share a couple reasons why I use return tracks, and particularly one thing that you can only do if you route your audio using return tracks. So the first thing I should mention up front, I used to not do this in the past, and I remember someone mentioning, "Why, you're such an idiot, why are you not doing this?" And I did what I often do, which is I said, "Oh, that guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about." And I didn't try it for many, many years. And then I finally wised up and I said, let me actually try it. And I tried it and I have not looked back since. So if you're not using return tracks, all I can tell you is just try it. And if it doesn't work for you, go back to doing it the way you're doing it. But here's a couple reasons why I do it. First, let me show you how I do it, and then I'll talk about why I do it. So the way this is set up for me is each one and every one of my songs, I use a group track. So all my stems are grouped together. Now this adds some great benefits. One, I can name my tracks however I want them to. Maybe instead of bass, I can say this is the low end sub bass, right? If that makes it a little easier for you to understand and find. Maybe there's a synthy part that you want to name strings, for example, to help you find it a little easier. I go in and I customize all my tracks exactly the right way. Then I can go into each of those tracks and I can show the sends, and I can turn up a specific send to send that to a specific return track. So for example, strings here is set to aux. I imagine if I go to, there's got to be a drum thing here, drum loop, and that's set to drums/loops. So each of those individual tracks are routed to a return track. And then I take the entire song and I set that to sends only. And that means I have separation of all my parts. You can see, for example, here, drum/loops go out of 3 and 4. But then I have an overall volume for everything. And we'll talk about that in a moment. That's a really cool feature. Why do I use return tracks? Why do I still, after all these years, use return tracks? Well, one thing for me is screen real estate is really big. Whether I'm using Mac Minis or I'm using laptops on stage, I don't want my screen cluttered with a bunch of tracks up top. I actually heard someone one time say one of the reasons they don't use return tracks is because screen real estate. And I thought, huh. So the reason I do this is I have all my return tracks and all my routing here. Command Option R, I hide that, it's gone, right? And I have the full screen available to use, which is great. Second reason I really like using return tracks, and you can get this particular thing a couple different ways, is one, because of the way I program my songs using the 3-part framework, playback framework, is I create a template for live performance. I use that template to format all my songs and program all my songs, and then I program a set using that template of my programmed songs. The beauty of that is when I am in the song programming stage, step 2 of that process, I make decisions about each and every one of those tracks, sending them to return tracks, then I build my set. So when I build my set, when I built this set, I didn't have to do any audio routing. It was automatically done, and that's huge. I do it once, I don't have to do it again. The other thing that's nice about this is I can really quickly transform my Ableton set and my return tracks based on my output routing changing. For example, if you're in a run and gun festival type situation and scenario, and maybe they said, hey, you're gonna have 1 and 2 for clicking cues and you're gonna have stereo tracks. I can go and really quickly take all of my return tracks here, and instead of going to 1 and 2, I could route them to, or instead of going to all those individual outputs, I could route them to 1 and 2. If I had an audio interface set up, I could route to 3 and 4. And I didn't change any of my internal routings. Those still go to those return tracks. I'm just changing my routing from return tracks to outputs, which is really great. That's a huge time saver for me. It allows me to basically program and think about my set output agnostically, if that makes sense. A better way to say that is I don't think about how many outputs I have available to me when I'm programming. I just program tracks to return tracks, and return tracks function as groupings for me. Another reason I love using return tracks and it's really helpful for me is I have pre-routed buses that are set up to do a couple different things. One, I have a monitor mix bus that allows me to really quickly hear my stems and hear my songs without having my audio interface plugged in and without changing any routing. So for example, in this set, I can press M and then I can really quickly go up, press play, and I can hear my song without undoing all my routing. If I press M again and go back, I'll just hear clicking cues because I only have left and right. I don't have my interface set up. That's a huge time saver. Number 2 is I have an LTC render bus set up, and this is huge. You can see in my set here, I've got an LTC track set up. Often what happens is I get into rehearsals, we make lots of edits, and LTC is the way to communicate with all the production things. And so the production team typically then needs what's called an LTC ref, an edited one. So what this means for a lot of people is you have to go in and change all your routing and tweak things differently. All I do is I select my song, I do Command-Shift-R, I go render track, and I go down here and select my bus. Where is it? Right here, LTC render. I hit export, and I get a pre-made stereo render where one side is click cues and all my tracks, and the other side is all my LTC content. I can create LTC renders in 5 seconds. It's instantaneous, it's super fast. So that's a big reason I love using return tracks. Final reason though, or at least final reason for today, is something that I've found can only be done with return tracks, and that's having the ability to have a master volume control for each individual song. I'll show you what that means. Let me turn on my monitor mix so we can hear this, and I'll press play on this Dance the Night Away song and try not to get a copyright strike. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I can press play on this. Let's go over to session view, and you can see on Dance the Night Away here, I have this fader, and this fader allows me to turn down the master volume of my song, but I still have that individual separation with my stems, which is huge. So this allows me to be in sound check, be in rehearsal, press play, and have our monitor engineer front of house say, hey, song 1 is a little louder than song 2, and I can just really quickly bump it down 2 dB and level match very quickly. Now you can level match without this. You can go in and select each individual stem if you want to, and choose all these, and then go down to master volume here and adjust that. But to me, that's just a little bit of friction and a little more time than I want to spend in rehearsal. Allows me to be super flexible. I do spend a little bit of time trying to match stems, but no matter how much time I spend trying to match volume, it's still going to be different. And so this allows me to roll in rehearsal, be super flexible, mix together. The artist I work with now is songs, a 30-year catalog worth of songs. Some of the newer stuff is mixed and mastered really well. Some of the older stuff, not so much. So this allows me to customize and tweak based on that. So that's why I personally use return tracks. I'd love to know in the comments below why you use return tracks, or maybe let me know why you don't use return tracks. And I'll promptly ignore those, and I'll heart the ones that say they do. I'm kidding. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Bye.